Hello BSS, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here then just welcome. Hi, my name is Brenda. I do mostly paranormal videos here on my channel, so if that is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss when I post another video like this one. With all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. Alright guys, just one thing to address. I am filming this very early in the morning because I have not had any time to film for a video for this week. So I have my cafecito, it's iced coffee because it's also freaking hot today, and I had my AC on the whole time that I was setting this up, and now I had to turn it off because I know that it'll be super loud in the background, but this is what's gonna get me going, and this is just what I have to do to be able to get videos up for you guys. And I know that I have been slacking with the videos, so I have been trying not to make excuses as to why I haven't been filming, but the gist of it is that I just really have not had any motivation. I have not been able to get myself into like the spooky mood or like want to do research on stuff and so on and so forth. So today I am doing an easy one for myself, so at least I am getting a video out. And I know that you guys like these types of videos anyway, where I'm reading your stories that you submit to me. So with that being said, today I am doing a reading my subscriber story video. So go ahead and get comfortable, go get your snacks if you need anything else that you would like to grab before I start reading these stories. So as always, if you want to submit your stories, the only way to send them in is through my email, beyondbs.paranormal@gmail.com. That is the only place that I look for stories and the only place that I read them from. If you guys would like to help me out, please go ahead and send them to that email. Alright, so let's get into story number 1. And then this one says, "Hello, it's me again, Curious Squirrel. I'll start by saying I hope you are doing well. I have 2 stories sort of similar. Story 1. Fort Worth Thing. When I was younger, maybe 16, I used to live in Fort Worth. In Fort Worth, Texas, there's this place called the Stockyards. One night, some friends and I went to the Stockyards at night around 3. It was dead. No one was out there. All you can hear is them cows. When me and my friend passed by the Fort Worth Stockyard Station shopping center, I saw this ugly looking thing that looked like a mannequin. I turned to tell my friend that, and the ugly thing was gone. Yep, never went back there, not even during the day." And then she shows a picture of the Stockyard Station, which looks very like Western old vibes. That's really creepy. I hate mannequins. You guys know I hate like dolls in general, so that one's really creepy. And story number 2, Waco, Texas, Flash Women? ? That's the title of it. Me and my husband, we like going to Cameron Park here in Waco, Texas. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way, Waco. One night, we was on top of this thing called Suspension Bridge when I saw this lady walking by the sidewalk on the side of the river walk. She was wearing this bright orange dress. I'll insert a picture if I can find one that looks like it. I turned 1 second to tell my husband, and when we turned, that lady was not there. We tried looking for her, but she couldn't have gone far with me just turning around in 1 second. I don't know if what I saw was a ghost or the woman flash, but it's still strange. That's all for today. I'll send you some more soon. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Squee out." Thank you so much, Squee. And she sends us a picture of what the dress kind of looked like, which is kind of like a tribal pattern sort of thing. But that's really creepy. Yeah, she would have either had to be fast as hell or a ghost. Yeah, that's the only 2 options. Alright, thank you Squee for sending that story in. Now let's move on to story number 2. Alright, this one is sent in to me by Chelsea. It says, "Hi Brenda, the story I'm sharing with you is not my experience, but that of a distant relative of mine, passed down to me by my uncle. To give a little background and context to what I'm sharing, I live in the Caribbean, in a country called Trinidad and Tobago. My country was once a colony owned by many European nations such as Spain, France, and England. The native people of my land were killed due to the European settlers bringing with them various foreign diseases and also due to the mass genocide of their tribes in general. Only a few relatives of the first people are left today, and we constantly try to keep their names and practices alive. Due to many cultures that coexist on this one little island simultaneously, that is, the European plantation owners, the West African captives who were enslaved, the East Indian indentured laborers, and also the native people of the land, there was an entanglement and fusion of the many beliefs. These beliefs include those of supernatural and of many folklore. One of the many folklore stories told is one of La Diablesse. Sorry, I'm trying to see if I could pronounce this. La Diablesse, which translates from French to she-devil. It is said by the older generations that this creature is the incarnation of the devil, which takes the form of a beautiful woman. It is said that she wears a dress similar to that of which the plantation owners' wives wore, and a white brimmed hat. She has one normal foot and the other is that of a goat's hoof. Oftentimes, she will walk along lonely roads in densely forested and quiet areas with the human foot on the pitch road and the goat's foot on the grass beside it. This entity targets exclusively men who either get lost on their way home due to drunkenness, or she lures perfectly sober men. She is said to not only be very beautiful, but also have a very attractive figure, wink wink, into a forested spot and finally reveal her true identity. The identity she reveals to these unfortunate men is firstly the goat's hoof, and then she raises her brimmed hat and shows a hideous face that is no longer the beauty it once was. What is believed to be the motive of these beings is to have men who are unfaithful to their wives suffer a horrible demise in the forest where she leaves them completely unclothed, near a ravine or stream of water. It is believed that it is connected to the sin of lust. Oh, and then she shows some pictures of La Diablesse, which reminds me of La Cigüeña. I forgot the name, but I'll put it right here. It reminds me of that. But that's what they get, as she should. She should get rid of all of the unfaithful men on this planet. Okay, now let's go ahead and get into her second story. This one says, to begin the story, my uncle explained that a relative was walking home in the middle of the night from a bar. He was so very drunk that he could barely walk to make his way back home. While staggering along the roadside, he saw that what he believed to be a beautiful woman looking at him in the shadows, a distance from where he was. He began following her into a bushy area, and from what he explained, he had blacked out and had no idea what happened next. He woke up the next morning on the branch of a huge tree. His clothes seemed to be almost ripped off of him, and he was disoriented. As expected, there was no possible way he could have gotten up to the branch of that tree, as it was so high up, and he could have barely walked on his own 2 feet. The part of this mostly eerie story was how confused his family was as to how he got that high up on the tree, when he could hardly get down on his own. Alright, and here is another one she includes. It says, another uncle of mine told us of a time before he got married to my aunt. He lived in a rural village called Santa Flora. He explained that while walking home, he had to travel a couple miles along the highway, but there was a detour that he knew of. This path was through a thick forested area. Unfortunately, he didn't bring a torchlight with him, as he planned on using the lighting from the highway initially. This was a time before having a cell phone with a flashlight was common. As he struggled to make his way through the thick foliage, he made a turn and saw what seemed to be a woman, standing at a distance and gesturing him to come towards her. He had heard of the stories of these kinds of creatures and knew not to go any further. He suddenly remembered that he had a box of matches in his pocket. Quickly he lit one, threw it in her direction, and bolted towards his house as quickly as he could run. I hope these little stories passed down from my relatives were enjoyable. Keep up the great work with your content, and I wish you health and peace. Thank you so much, Chelsea. Those stories were so good. I realized halfway through that you gave us the initial legend or the folklore of the La Diablesa, or La Diablesse, I think is what it was called. And then you gave us stories of encounters with it from your family. I don't know where I missed that, but I was just like, oh, this is her second story for it. But that was super interesting, and as I said, it does remind me of the other legend that I've covered before. I think that when people from different areas come together, they share the similar types of urban legends, and then they end up calling them something else or different folklore and stuff like that, which is really cool because we all share similar fears or similar things that make us angry and so on and so forth. And that's really cool that this one is very similar to that, and it's just another woman who is, or devil being type thing, that is getting people for the sins lust, right? But thank you again, Chelsea. That was a really good story, and I really enjoyed the folklore that you shared with us at the same time. And now let's go ahead and move on to story number 3. Okay, story number 3 is sent in to me by Ariana Vasquez. It says, "Hi Brenda, I have another scary story for you and the fam. This happened 3 years ago in the middle of the day. My older sister and I were in our driveway riding our bikes. I had stopped riding my bike when I noticed an old lady approaching our front door. She had a long blue dress with a pattern at the bottom of it, and she had a blue shawl around her head that covered her shoulders too. She turned my way, but I couldn't see her face because the shawl she was wearing covered most of her face all the way down to her nose, only seeing her mouth. I waved at her and she waved right back, giving me a small smirk. She knocked at the front door, then she saw the front door opening, and then she stepped in. I called out to my sister to tell her that I wanted to see who that lady was since I hadn't seen her before, and my sister had no idea what I was talking about. She hadn't seen anyone at the front door, so I went inside to find out for myself who she was. I walked in and my dad was cleaning the living room. I asked him who the lady was that came in, and my dad said no one had come in. I asked my mom and she said I sounded crazy. So I looked all over the house for that lady, but I couldn't find her. So I told my mom and dad who I had seen, and that's when they said that I had probably seen an apparition, an intelligent ghost, because it acknowledged me and waved at me, which made it really hard to believe because the lady looked like a real person. Although I never saw her actually walking through the driveway, which is the only way to our front door. Well, Brenda, this is one of the many things I have seen. I'll be sending you more. That is so creepy, and it's kind of funny how your mind didn't even acknowledge the fact that she went from being in the driveway at one end to just being at your front door knocking on it. You're like, that's fine, she's just knocking at the door and she just went in. And even crazy that your parents actually told you that it could be a ghost instead of just being like, oh, maybe it was your imagination. But at the same time, they did still think that you're crazy for seeing that, but still super creepy, and I wonder what it could have been. And it's even crazier that the ghost did acknowledge you. And I always find it super interesting when it's one of those things where that this apparition knows that it's not alive, maybe, or at the same time, maybe it does, and then it just thought, you're just another person like them who waved at them, and it's a courtesy thing. That really creeped me out for some reason. But very good story, Ariana. Thank you so much for sending that in. Okay, now let's move on to our next story, and I think this might be our final one. This is story number 4, and this one is titled La CARRETA del DIABLO, and is sent to me by Maribel. So it says, "Hey Pisces Queen," that's me. My name is Maribel. I have this story that happened to my cousin and I when we were around 15 or 16 years old in Mexico. My family is from a little rancho in Jalisco, Mexico. Oh, shout out Jalisco. My cousin and I have a group of friends we would hang out with until very late at night. We hung around in the plaza of the rancho and would just always have a good time. We were crushing on some guys at the time. This is essential to the story, lol. One night after hanging out with our friends until around midnight, we went home. We were getting ready for bed when something stopped us in our tracks. We were in our pajamas getting ready to lay down when my cousin says, "Do you hear that horse? I wonder whose it is." It is not uncommon to hear horses since it's a rancho, but not at this hour. I indeed did hear the horse and was intrigued. Like I mentioned before, we were crushing on some guys and we were wondering if it was one of them. My cousin says, "Turn off the light so they can't see in the room." I hesitated because I am scared of the dark, but agreed. While we kept hearing the horse approaching, the animals were going wild. I'm talking cows, chickens, and dogs. That really spooked me because what the fuck? It's a small and quiet town. Everyone is in their houses at this point. We had been hearing the horse for a while and no one passed by. I told my cousin, "Let's just lay down. This feels very, very odd." We waited for minutes and no one ever passed. The horse steps were clearly near, but we never saw it pass. We both went to sleep pretty spooked because the animals would not stop making noise. The next morning we told my cousin what we heard and she was shocked. She told us, "Es la CARRETA del DIABLO." We were shocked. "Para la próxima no se fijen," which means next time don't look out. We were shocked. Needless to say, we didn't let curiosity get the best of us again. I have so many stories because I grew up in a haunted home. I will be submitting some more soon. All the best, Maribel. Thank you so much, Maribel. I love stories from Mexico. Like, I don't know why, but they just hit different. Like, you guys know they hit different, right? But that one was really spooky. I think I wouldn't, after that, I would not be curious anymore. I don't think in the first place I would be. I'd be like, I don't know who's out there, but they better leave because I'm not about to do all of this. I'm going to sleep. Like, that would have been my initial reaction to that. But anyway, Maribel, very good story. I'm looking forward to hearing some more from you, and because I really enjoyed that one, and I would love to hear some more stories that you guys may have from Mexico. Those are always the best. So that is going to be the last story for this video, you guys. I keep looking at my camera because I charged it just to make this video really quickly, but it didn't charge enough in that little amount of time that I had to do it. So it's dying. But that's going to be it from me, you guys. But before I do end the video, today's comment shout out goes to this person right here. Thank you so much for leaving a nice comment. As always, I really do appreciate it, and it really does make my day. And if you want to be the next comment shout out, all you have to do is leave me a nice comment down below, and that's it. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Hopefully I see you in my next one. Don't forget to stay safe and be kind. Bye bye.